Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call the Personnel Committee of May 1st, 2007 to order. Ms. Cheryl Fontenot, would you please lead us in prayer, and everybody following the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. Father, as always, we come before your throne tonight, Father, just saying thank you. Thank you for the wonderful weather we've had. Thank you for this wonderful parish. Thank you for all of our troops and volunteers who are working hard to make us safe and secure in this country. We ask that you bring all of them home safely and quickly. And we ask that you secure the gates and the boundaries of this parish by your glory. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Something real brief. We have some interviews that's been scheduled for 7 o'clock, so we have a pretty hefty agenda. We're going to get to the meat and potato of the issues and get moving on. We're not going to stall on one particular one so that we can try to be finished here for 7 o'clock so we won't have to hold these other people up that's going to be here for our interviews. All right. Roll call, Mrs. I've got Mr. Martin McConnell absent. He said he would be here, so I expect him. And Mr. Adrian Thompson is absent working. Number 3, we have a discussion from Human Resource to include all parish employed supervisors in a $1.50 raise. Mr. Roy Katz. Give us a brief history on where we're coming from and where you want to go with this and why.
Thank you. Back in just looking at the date when we approved the increases for it, this was back in November of 2006. We granted a 5% increase to all employees, and also it was recognized that we were having some problems with our salary setup and schedule. So at that time it was approved that all supervisors in DPW would be granted $1.50 an hour increase over the highest paid person that they had working for them. This is fine. Everybody's appreciative of that. But in the process, this is something we're going to have to keep in mind for next year if we're going to do it with the Drainage Board, because there were no Drainage Board people mentioned in this. This was prior to the split, so it didn't affect them. But there were about 4 or 5 people that were affected that are supervisors in other areas that we could not give the increase to. And in some cases it's minimal. In some cases it's a little more. The four that we're concerned with that are outside of this would be the recreation director. She has somebody that's making real close to her salary. The health manager of the health department has an RN that's pretty close to his salary. We have an RN supervisor that actually has a nurse making more than she's making. And then we have an office manager in mental health that's only 6 cents an hour over a person that works for her.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We got a motion by Mr. Byregger to accept Human Resources recommendations to include all supervisors paid to be $1.50 an hour above the highest paid employee. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Is there any opposition to the motion? Having none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
I'm going to just stay right here if you want.
Good idea. Number 4, approval of job titles. Roy, go ahead.
Okay. I have talked to our people several times, and every time somebody comes to us, they want to change the title or make a move in a pay. And what I want to do is make sure that we do it not more than once a year, because it's too cumbersome to keep up with it. And I think you have a handout, is that correct, on their titles?
There you go. And that's one.
Job descriptions, and there's a job description and handout on the proposed titles. There's several people that have something, and
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me, Roy. Oh, is this new positions and titles that we're looking at, or
yes,
is
sir,
this
it's new positions.
is new position?
Right.
Okay.
I guess the best thing to do is listen to the people that are asking for this, and I'd like to call Rick Weber on he can tell you about his people in OEP, and this is somewhat of a restructuring of that department because of the importance of it.
Positions that we're looking at is first is operations. They handle all resources on an incident. Second is planning. They look 24 to 48 hours out from an incident to see where we'd be postured at. The next one is logistics, which is pretty critical. They have to maintain a 72-hour surge stock of emergency supplies, and a documentation unit specialist that documents everything that happens within an incident. All supplies, all man hours, all equipment. All of it follows the incident command structure, which Department of Homeland Security allowed me to choose as a structure for the Emergency Operations Center.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Weber? All right, I do, Mr. Weber. Let's go back and look in the packet. Let's go ahead and look at your flow chart.
Right.
As far as, because we're looking at 3 new positions that's in front of us. Is that correct? And the handout that come from Human Resource, I've got Executive Assistant Documentation Unit Leader as being 1.
Right.
I've got Logistics Supply Officer,
Right.
which is 2, and I've got Operations Training Officer.
Which is 3, and you should have a Planning Intelligence Officer, which would be 4.
Planning Intelligence Officer, okay, it's 4. Okay. Let's deal with those 3 right here. Now, we should be able to find that in your flow chart.
Right. The first flow chart that you'll be looking at is the current structure of the EOC.
Okay.
With the problem that you have with the current structure, the span of control issue is a problem. In other words, the director is being inundated by data, and you don't have a good span of control. The only thing that you can manage is about 5 things at one time. If you set it up in an ICS or an incident command structure, the span of control is broken down to the command staff and the general staff, so you don't have that issue of being inundated with data during an emergency. So that's the current structure that you're looking at. The second page looks at the proposed full-time structure of the EOC. So we're looking at having a Chief Operations Officer, which I want to delay bringing on until 2008. The reason I want to delay bringing this one particular position over, I want it right. This is a very critical position in the EOC. They handle all fire, EMS, and police. So I want to make sure that the person that we put into that position is the right person for the job. Chief Planning Officer, again, at another critical position. They handle all mitigation, all planning, all of our emergency operations plans, standard operating procedures, and they look at where the EOC is positioned 12 to 48 hours out from the incident that we're at now. Chief Logistics Officer, again, they have to maintain a 72-hour surge stock of emergency supplies. We have to have a warehouse somewhere in Ascension Parish, which I've signed a mutual aid agreement with Fire District 1. They've agreed to let me use the building to use as a warehouse. The state has agreed to give me more supplies, but this inventory is pretty critical. It's for all first responders in the parish to help us out for 72 hours until FEMA comes down with more resources. Documentation Unit Leader for the bicentennial. This is a product that the documentation unit leader can provide. Minute by minute, all resources were documented during the bicentennial. So it's very critical to document everything that you do within an incident. That's another critical position.
All right, anyone has any questions for Mr. Weber? All right. Mr. Weber, as far as the documentation unit leader, give me a little more description on what this position is going to be able to do for us in terms of the incident and the documentation that the parish is needed to submit for refunding from the state or the federal government if a disaster has been declared. Is that this person?
That's this person.
Okay. Well, this position right here, to me, is very important because the parish has lost the opportunity to get some refunds from Rita and Katrina because we did not have the documentation. So this is one position that's very important as far as us getting some refunds. That's something to think about.
The critical thing is that it standardizes what we do as a parish. It uses all the incident command forms, incident command form 201 to 226 that documents every aspect of every incident. So we can get reimbursed, and we submit everything to FEMA for reimbursement through that one person.
But you will be able to lock into DPW as far as the work that's being done, the man hours that's being done during the state of emergency?
During the state of emergency, the documentation unit leader is actually subordinate to the planning section, and the situation unit leader reports on everything that happens. The person that's in this position has to coordinate with every other person in the general staff and command staff and has to know what's going on. All documentation, it comes in from all over the parish to this one person and is documented and tracked throughout the whole entire incident. And it's done every operational period. So these forms are redone every operational period. So if you can look at this binder as an example later on, you'll see every operational period, and it has the identical form for each operational period. So what I want to set for the EOC is that every 24 hours will be our operational period, and we'll have a complete set of documents for one 24-hour operation.
All right, Mr. Weber, let's talk about the funding. There's some monies that's coming down from the state
Right.
for every parish in regards to personnel. Let's talk about the funding and the budget as you see it for the remainder of this year if we were to move forward with the recommendation on the proposed recommendation.
A bill is proposed by the state of Louisiana to supplement emergency managers $60,000 a year to provide a full-time emergency management staff. That's going to be completed by 1 July of this year. Based on my projections, if I don't bring the operations planning chief, not the planning chief, but the operations section chief on until 2008, I can actually come in under budget from what we've already been budgeted for 2007. So what we'll do is get a complete, minus the operations section chief, a complete general staff of under budget for what we already have budgeted for 2007. We're looking at about $110K. For 2007, we can come in below that, around 96. 93.6, rather.
So with the $60,000, it should be being released to the parishes in July?
1 July.
Okay. And with that additional monies, you can implement your proposed full-time structure with the exception of your chief operations officer and come in under budget.
I could also implement a part-time structure also. What I want to do is get some part-time people in there that can work 1 day a month. And with that part-time, we're looking at $800 a month, $9,600 a year. I'll have a complete full-time staff, one part-time staff 1 day a month, and still come in under budget if I don't bring on the operations section chief. But the reason why I'm looking for a part-time staff is that now we can link training to what we do in EOC. I want a complete internationally recognized emergency management system within EOC. That's what I'm looking for. If we pay them 1 day a month to come in for training, we can link that training to the job.
Let's talk about the criteria that parishes has to meet to receive the $60,000 per year, as far as us being able to attain that.
That it's not a problem. We've already met the minimum standard. My standard's set quite a bit higher than the standard that's being set to receive the funding. The minimum standard is that you have to have a full-time emergency management staff, and if it's delegated to any other agency outside the parish, they still have to receive that funding to do that. You have to open up all your books, open up all your training to the state for inspection, which I'm fully prepared to do. I mean, we will have a professional emergency management staff.
Okay. Anyone has any questions for Mr. Weber?
Yeah,
Mr. McConnell?
just a comment, and I appreciate the work that you do, Rick, very, very much. We've had the opportunity to meet. I'm kind of being caught cold on all of this, and I hope you're not expecting a response or a reply tonight, because I'd really like to take some time to digest it. And I know what all your department did during our emergencies that we had in 2005. So I'm inclined to help you as best I can. I'd just like to be able to study this and perhaps meet with you one-on-one, that we can discuss this and see, just to make sure that this is the best thing. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to guess we want to take something like this under advisement and bring it up again.
Yeah,
and I'd like to hear all the debate before. I'm not offering that as a motion. I just want to hear some more debate first.
And Mr. McConnell, I was not planning on asking for a resolution to send it to the full council this time. We just wanted it up for a presentation, so this is our first time seeing it. It is a big issue. I will discuss it and bring the full council up to current with what's being recommended at Thursday's meeting. Give them the packet. They can have a packet of this restructuring, so that they can have opportunity to look at it, and hopefully the following meeting, the second meeting in May, we would be able to take it up. That was my game plan.
And I appreciate that, but of course we know that hurricane season starts June 1, so we want to be able to at least get something in place with some sort of an answer to you, or at least some sort of a structure or foundation that we can do. So I don't want to dilly-dally with this.
Well, and also, Ms. Suzanne, we want to forward this and put this on the finance agenda so we can discuss it, because it's additional dollars that's going to be coming from the general fund. So that there, again, it can be discussed too.
The issue that I'm looking at also is that to bring them on and get them trained, we've got 23 working days before the hurricane season starts. So
What I was going to suggest, Councilman Savoy, is that we take and approve the job descriptions pending finance approval, and then we don't have to come back to personnel, because these are no good if we don't get the funding for them. So we can take this to the next step. Since you said it has to go to finance, and it does need to go to finance, let's get the job descriptions out the way and deal with them after that.
The only concern I have is we've got 4 new job descriptions that you're asking the council, the full council, to take consideration on Thursday. And I do not want to put the council.
We don't have to send it Thursday just because we approve it here. We're just approving it from our committee, and then it's got to go to finance, which is the following Thursday.
But that does not help Mr. Weber as far as the time frame. We can do the same thing at the meeting when we take up for consideration the recommendation of the restructuring. It doesn't save him anything. It doesn't save him. I don't see where it's saving him any time as far as.
Is it on
Well,
the
this
agenda
would
for
be
Thursday night?
Nobody could come under my personnel policy.
Well, if it's not listed, you can't vote on it anyway. Let's just send it to finance, and
That'll be their first time they get to see it is at finance. Yeah.
We can approve this to go to finance.
Oh well, yeah.
With it after
But, yeah.
that.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you was asking for. Yeah. This will go to finance. The job description. Mr. McConnell.
Well, yeah, we can discuss it at finance, but I just, being caught cold like this, I'm not prepared to vote on anything pending anything else, because we do that a lot, and then it tends to pend an awfully long time. And I know Mr. Weber is going to follow up on this one, but we've got a bad habit of things pending out there all over, and then somebody has to follow up on it. I'd really like to meet with Mr. Weber. I'm just not prepared to vote on this tonight. And again, I'm inclined to support you, because I know I've been in the trenches with you, and I know what this group does. But let's take it and digest it a little bit and make sure that we understand that completely. I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference. We can still discuss it at finance Thursday night, just to make sure, as long as we have some sort of an idea of what kind of an increase in funding and personnel costs that we're going to take on. I just don't know if I'm ready yet to approve these new positions without having the opportunity to meet one-on-one with Mr. Weber and discuss it further. Thank you.
Ms. Fontenot.
Can we not approve the positions without, I mean, we're not actually hiring anybody, we're just saying that we're going to approve, it's got to go to the full council. They're not approved here, they're just approved here to send to the full council, so we can always back out of it then, but this just keeps the process moving forward. If there's a timeline, we've got plenty of time to review these things and get them. All we're doing is approving some positions to go in the policy manual and some job descriptions, and nobody can be hired until we decide to do that. That's the way I understand it.
We can approve, well, if it satisfies you, we can approve to send it to the finance. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking that we approve the job descriptions unless finance approves it, you know, with the approval of finance, because why should it come back to us? We have a hard time bringing a personnel committee together, you know, as it is, because it's sort of a rogue committee, and we don't have a regular meeting time, so we can't say that when's the next personnel committee going to be. I'm just saying, why don't we take care of it now and then deal with it at the next level?
Mr. Parish.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we just send it to finance now, it doesn't have to come back here. Finance can recommend to send it to the full council. We have a council meeting this Thursday, which is not on the agenda, so the earliest you can vote on it is the third Thursday of the month, which the second Thursday is finance, so we do have time. And finance meeting, we can put it on the agenda that night for the following week. So let's just send it to finance, and everybody can take a good look at it. You can pass out the paperwork at the council meeting this Thursday. That'll give the council, the entire body, a full week to review it, and they won't be caught cold turkey for the finance meeting on the second Thursday of the month. And then possibly we can send it to the council meeting for the third Thursday, which the earliest we can vote on it is then anyway, because it didn't make the agenda
That's correct.
for Thursday night.
That's correct.
So my motion would be to forward it to finance.
For further consideration.
Yes, sir.
And I second that.
Motion by Mr. Barriga, second by Ms. Fontenot. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
If you can, I noticed Mr. Katz had a couple other ones behind Mr. Weber's. Did we need to talk about those?
Well,
or-
yeah, well, let's finish up with these here.
This is a lot to look at right here with him.
Yeah, I want to finish up with Mr. Weber.
Okay.
And then then Roy. That's all you have, Rick?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Roy.
I don't have the exact list in front of me, but the only other one that I would like to cover is in small print, and it's down dealing with the manager of the health unit. The only reason I'm asking for a title change here and not, this doesn't involve any money, we'd like to call it director of the health unit, because it's like any other thing. It's the titles of people that you're dealing with. I think it's below that chart you have. We have a chart on there of 4 or 5 different people. It's just asking to change his title to director. If you feel embarrassed because he's in here, I'll run him out. But anyway, it's just the dealings of who he deals with and other titles to make it compatible to other titles he's dealing with as far as health units are concerned. And that's the only thing I'm asking in that.
Hang on, Roy.
Yeah. Sure. Say that again, please. I'm looking at all these job descriptions. I don't see anything that you just talked about.
I'm sorry. It's in the regular type under the chart that had the other titles.
The only chart we got was from OEP.
The one that, yeah, there was other job descriptions up there.
They're right in there.
Yeah, I got master mechanic, millwright.
Master.
First page.
All this is OEP stuff. And then, like Mr. Savoy said, we're going right into master mechanic millwright. There is no chart or anything that you're mentioning.
Well, I'm sorry about that. It was really just a title change on the manager of the health.
Hold on,
Okay.
Roy. Are you looking at a mental health, substance abuse
No.
assistant director?
No, we're directing that. We're passing on that.
Wait, what are we passing on? I'm looking at three. I'm looking at three more in front of us.
Okay.
As far as the mental health, substance abuse assistant director, clinical manager, we're passing on that?
They were not ready to act on that. They have to go to the mental health board on that before they
Okay.
can do anything.
All right, hang on.
We were just preparing a job description for that.
That's the last one.
And substance abuse counselor, I also have.
Yeah, on the substance abuse program coordinator, substance abuse counselor, mental health, we're passing on that one too.
Right. That has to go before
Going
that
back to the
board.
board. All right. Now, master mechanic millwright. It's the last one.
Okay. Go ahead. We want to act on that. I don't have anybody here from that department on it. It was just a title change.
Title change from,
You remember, Christy, what we had it on?
It's an additional.
Oh, it's an additional position? I'm sorry, it's an additional position. That was
what's the
requested.
difference, let me ask you this, what's the difference between a master mechanic, which we have master mechanic positions already? Now, I don't know of us having a bona fide certified millwright.
This, it's in the job description that we prepared, Jerry. And this came from Department of Public Works.
What I'm reading here, forgive me, Mr. Chairman, it says it differs in regard to the amount of supervision required. Is it less supervision, more supervision?
I have no idea.
Not having the other one to compare to.
Right. I would recommend you don't waste a lot. If you just pass on it also until we straight on it, till we get our ducks in a row with DPW. Let's just go ahead and pass on it.
We're going to pass on that one too. All right. Mr. Fontenot.
The other one that's not in here was the one dealing with the
The title, only a title
a
change.
title change. Didn't we deal with that in June of 06? June the 13th, 06, because we reviewed the tape last night.
I'm not sure.
Where we talked about that, we didn't pass it at the council at any of
No, ma'am. It wasn't passed. We've been carrying it the same thing as a manager of the health unit.
It's just a title change. We can do that without paperwork.
All right, Laura. Which one are we talking about now?
All right. This is the one that should have been on there that's separate. It wasn't a job description change or anything else. It's strictly a title change because of the people that he deals with in day-to-day life. It's nothing more than a change in his title from manager to director. Doesn't change the pay scale, doesn't change anything. It's just when he goes out and he deals with other health units, most of the people are directors that we're dealing with in the health units. That's all we're asking.
And that is the health unit manager.
That's what we have right now.
Right now, you want to change it to health unit director.
That's correct.
And he falls under the same classification?
No title change. No changes in salary, grades, or anything. We can't do that without the council's approval. That's why I'm coming to you with it.
Okay. Ms.
Just
All he's asking is to change, listed in the pay scale is a title and a salary
Yep.
base. He's asking you to change the wording from manager to director. And we had this discussion, lengthy discussion, in June the 13th, 06.
All right. Mr. McConnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't care about semantics. That's neither here nor there. I just don't want to cause any confusion because people in your position, Mr. Katz, people in our DPW director's position and so forth, Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, those are all, we consider them to be directors. I'm going to have the quotes with the fingers, but we consider them directors, and they have a position, and they have a certain level of authority and so forth. And I just want to make sure we're not going to cause any confusion by naming this person giving them the title director, and but they're not actually going to be what we would refer to as a director of the parish. I just don't want to cause any confusion in any of that.
No, I understand fully. We have a director of mental health that we have already. We do have, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we do have a couple other directors, and Chief Administrative Officer and I discussed that again this afternoon. And I'm just, my only recommendation here is just a comfort zone of what this person is dealing with. Is just dealing with the people that he's on his level that he's dealing with.
Among his peers, you mean?
Yeah, I'm talking about when he goes out and deals with other health units.
Okay,
So moved,
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. Byrick. To move forward with changing the health unit manager
Thank you.
title to director. Any questions? Any opposition? Having the motion passes.
Thank you.
I thank you, Roy.
We have another one on a light duty, workers' comp light duty.
Number 5, light duty, workers' compensation. Roy, there's been discussion about workers being injured on the job, not able to work, and then at some point in time get a release from the doctor for light duty. Won't you share with us what's been the practice in the past in regards to the policy manual versus the administration's policy, and,
Okay.
and how you've been working it?
Okay. Some of you may know my background was in safety, and I don't want to digress into this too much, but one of the biggest things you want to do when you're in safety is try to get an employee back at work as soon as you can. And of course the downside to that is if you get them back too soon and they get hurt, then they pretty much own you for bringing them back. So we have, since I've been here, and I think even before that, and I can't speak for them, but my previous administrations, we have abided by the policy that we have no such thing as light duty, that an employee has to be released from the doctor to do his job that he's capable of doing, and under the conditions that he's hired for, and no light duty, no restricted duty. We don't want somebody that, for example, having shoulder surgery coming back and walking around, maybe just carrying a mop around, because if they hurt the arm or whatever, you've got to eat that. So we pretty much go along the line, the hard line, if you want to call it that they cannot come to work until they receive full release from their doctor to return to the job that they're doing. I'm not sure right now exactly how many we have out. We had, for some reason, Mr. Chairman, we had a discussion about this early in the year, and we had to put a letter out to all departments that we didn't want light-duty people back on a job site, and I think we had 4 or 5 that were wandering around that did not come back through us in HR, but just reported to work. And of course, we're delighted to have them, but if they get hurt on the job, as I said, we've got a problem. So after that email went out, the safety person, Tommy Marshall, and I had another discussion, and I sent him another email saying that even though we appreciated the concern of getting somebody back to work and getting their earning powers back up, that we just could not let anybody come back unless the doctor said they could come back at full duty to the full job that they were doing. And I think at that time there were 4 or 5 that we had that were on light duty, and they had to be sent back home until the doctor gave them their release. So unless the doctor gives them a full release to come back to work to do their job, we don't bring them back. And that's strictly to protect us. Yes, ma'am.
The only question that I want to ask, have you had some that were working back on light duty and were sent home following this? Did you have them working for us on light duty and then you just sent them home based on this?
No, ma'am. I didn't, because we didn't even know they were here. And what they were doing was bypassing us, not bringing the doctor's excuse in, and coming into DPW. And at that time, and again, that was most of the problem. And again, at that time, this was an email I think I sent to Tommy and to Bill Rue on February the 13th. That we couldn't do this anymore. That they had to come through Human Resources with the doctor's receipt statement saying that they were free and clear to come back to work.
Anything else, Ms. Fontenot?
I could ask the question also, do we follow this policy across the board? Or are there some people that are still doing light duty, still working, or come to work with injuries when others are sent home? Just asking.
Ms. Fontenot, it should be a consistent thing all the way across the board. We're getting more control on this as they go out, particularly on surgery. If it's a personal issue, we definitely have control on workers' comp. We control it, but we do not have light duty assignments out here. Everybody by now should know that we don't have light duty. We had and without getting into too personal, we had a young lady that could not come back until she was released to the full duty and doing some kind of clerical work, which we could have probably taken back earlier than that. But we did not allow it until she received full clearance from her doctor.
Anyone else?
This is done strictly, this is done strictly to protect the parish. I just don't want somebody coming in here. I mean, I know it's hard on some people when they start looking at salaries and not making money, but to bring the salaries home, but this is really to protect us.
Ms. Fontenot?
Well, you know, there's a difference in somebody that gets injured at home, you know, or somewhere outside of the parish thing, and then wants to come back to work when they're not able to do their job. But when we have people that are injured on the job here, you know, our policy manual says that if they're eligible, they can return to light duty. And then all of us, I mean, that's what we're reading in here under employees' benefits, and then they get a letter like this. So just
okay. We looked through the policy manual again because we did know that they were going to have to bring a doctor's excuse anytime they came to work. And there is a difference, and not much of a difference. If I'm operated at home and I decide to come back and don't have a doctor's release and I get hurt here or repercussion here, you're still responsible. The parish is responsible for it. So the doctor's excuse, bringing them back on full duty, is the way to go.
All right. Well, it sounds like, from listening to you, Roy, it sounds like we didn't have a good handle on who was coming back to work on light duty versus full duty at some point.
At some point, we probably did, Jerry. Yes, I agree with that.
All right. And as of February 13th, decision was made by the department that we were not going to let anybody come back to work on light duty.
That's correct.
Be ready for full duty.
And that's talking also to our third-party administrator on all of this. And I don't want it to sound like it was out of hand, but we did have, if we had one, it was too many that shouldn't have been back in here, because had they gotten hurt, we would have had a real problem. So we just had to clamp down on it.
Well, consistency is the best policy. That's all I'm hearing. Anybody else? Has any questions? No more questions? That's all, Mr. Roy.
Thank you. If you have any questions or concerns about this, just please give me a call. Come by and see me. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, revised mental health and substance abuse policy and procedure manual. I've got board members here, and I got Ms. Susan, Director of Mental Health. I'll take up Ms. Gotro and Ms. Batiste. Go ahead and what you got here?
Well, in our policy and procedure manual, Mr. Jeff Diaz sent us one and told us to approve this one and this one only. And we have inserts in it now that do not pass the mental health board's approval. So we are asking tonight that we approve the one that Jeff Diaz sent to us with no inserts. Now then, we have, and tonight, there was a mention of mental health, approving of 2 new positions for mental health. Well, number one, our ordinance provides for our director. If something happens to our director, our ordinance provides for that position. It will be the office manager. So I don't know how we could set another assistant director or another position there if it's already in your ordinance.
Well, we did send that back to, we did not act on it, we sent it back to the board for consideration. So
Okay.
it's going back to y'all for y'all's
Well, it
discussion.
never came to us.
Okay.
None of this has ever came to us.
And that's why it's going
Okay.
back to you.
And on the flow chart, it was approved by the Personnel Committee when we came last time along with the ordinance. We're asking to go back to this flow chart. We don't want the flow chart changed when we hire people that don't flow in the right position and we change their positions. The other thing we need to do if we change the flow chart is we need to put that the office manager shall be the mental health board secretary, and she is, by your ordinance, your director, your assistant director. If anything happens to your director, she's trained now to handle that. This was put up on the screen when we came. You wasn't here, Jerry. Mr. Berger, I believe, was chairman of the board at that time. Am I right, Berger? No.
Mr. Valentine.
Mr. Valentine was. I'm sorry. And we just approved the flow charts and the 2 abide by the ordinance, and that's all we're asking tonight is that we do those on those 2 things. In other words, your office managers should be of your secretaries and your clerks. Now, and then your clinical management should be under your clinical management, and your nurse should be underneath there. And your,
Hold on, Ms.
oh, sorry.
The flow chart, is the flow chart in the policy manual?
Not in the one we were asked to approve.
That was going to be my question. Just a little bit of clarification,
Yeah,
if we can.
let's clear some things up here.
Okay.
This particular revised mental health and substance abuse policy and procedure manual, that's the one y'all saying is not correct? I'm just trying to.
This is the one that was sent to us by Jeff and asked
Is
to
that
be.
the one we have or no?
I don't know which one you have because I've got 7.
We have one dated January 1, 2007. That's what's here in front of us, is one dated January 1, 2007. Is that what you have?
Mine is dated December.
Because this one doesn't have any kind of an organizational chart in it.
December the 14th, 2006.
So we don't have the same thing. The one you're holding up is not the one that we have here in front of us. So it's.
Well, why the date? It could be. I don't know. All I know is this
Well,
one.
that's too bad.
But there's
That's
no
a
flow
dead
charts in the
tree.
one that Jeff sent us and told us to approve, and to ignore all others. And that's what we had intended to do. Well, we have flow charts in the one that she presented to us after Jeff did this one, and the flow charts haven't been approved, or any of the other inserts have not been approved. Because we don't have an adult mental health, hasn't been approved by the board. And that's what's happening. Things are bypassing us, coming to subcommittees, and then the whole chairman, the whole council is voting on them. The last 2 things that was voted on has not been approved by the mental health board that the council has voted on. And that's what we're trying to get straight. We'll come back again,
Chairman,
Jerry.
I think they need to just come back to us with some sort of a clean copy that they want us to consider one way or the other.
Agreed.
Let's do this. How about this? How about if we pull out the mental health ordinance? All right.
Yes, sir.
In the mental health ordinance, it states in here that, and I'm going to cut through the chase, as far as the role of the board. At the very end, it says all other rules and regulations contained in this rule shall be promulgated subject to review and approval by the parish president in the event that the board and the parish president cannot agree as to any matter, then such matter shall be brought to the Ascension Parish Council, who will make the final decision. What the board has to do is you need to go and meet with the parish president and submit your recommendation to the parish president. Y'all talk it over, look at it, and make a decision. Based out of that, what comes out of that meeting, if the parish president agrees with you, that's what it's going to be. If the parish president disagrees with the board, that's when you bring it to the full council.
Gotcha.
That's what I recommend to you to do.
Okay.
That's because that's following the ordinance.
Can I get a clarification on the 2 employees that you sent in front of us? If it goes through, that changes the parish policy and procedure manual. Therefore, we get to look at it here too, like the ordinance states?
As the ordinance states, we're going to live by the ordinance.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
That is the law.
Okay.
Okay? That's why it's going back to the board. Okay?
Understood. I believe I got it straight. Well, last time we didn't have a meeting,
That's the
so.
direction that we need to go. That right
Gotcha.
there. Ms. Fontenot.
As I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the policy manual is something that is very important to get passed because it deals with our state license. And there's a timeline on that if I remember, but I don't know what the timeline is. It has been through legal. Legal has approved it. Mental Health Board has been brought 6 or 7 different copies since that time, so they don't know what is. But it has to be approved by us. We've got to get to a clean council, a clean copy, so that at some point in time it can come to the council for us to ratify it in order for it to go to be protected for the state.
And I understand that.
Well, Jeff says this is a clean copy.
We have a direction. I understand that the board wants to recommend the copy that came from Jeff Diaz. That's the copy that they need to bring to the parish president, review it, discuss it, hammer out the details, and make a decision on if the parish president is going to support it or not. If the parish president supports it, it comes to the full council. If that's what is stated by the state.
Understood.
If y'all disagree, it still comes to the council for final
sir.
decision. That's the direction you need to go on that particular agenda item.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, let's go to number 7. Agenda item number 7, letter of agreement between CAHSD and the Parish of Ascension. Now, before I open the floor, it appears that we may have put the horse in front of the cart. Okay?
Cart in front of the hall.
The cart in front of the horse. I'm sorry. Okay? Really and truly, this is a mute issue because it done came before the council approved it, and the parish president has already signed it. So we can sit here and mull over it. I prefer not to. It should have gone before the board. The board should have looked at it, made a recommendation, and should have moved forward. It didn't do that. It skipped a step or 2. It's nothing we can do at this point except learn from it. That's it.
Well, Jerry, that's once again not following the ordinance. And we go through that for 3 years. We do not follow the ordinance over there. And anything they think, that they get passed by the council, they think then the mental health board. And if that's the way we're going to do business, I guess that's the way we're going to do business. But also on this, all I wanted to do was ask somebody to check into why Ascension Parish's funds were cut $88,500, and that should go to administration. That shouldn't be my board handling it anyhow. So if y'all passed it and you don't care, that's fine with me. I can't do anything about it either.
Well, and we do care, Ms. Gotro. It's just that under the circumstances, it came before the council. No one came and spoke on the issue. It was a renewal from what we were told, and we supported it and moved on. Looking back, yeah, it should have been handled differently. But at the present state, there's nothing for us to do now except learn from it. So far as you're concerned about why we're not getting our portion, or you don't feel like we're getting our portion, that can be sent through finance, and the finance department can look into the fiscal matter of it. All right, and we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, on that one. Number 8, discussion of corner fees.
Okay, the coroner's fees is in our ordinance now. But how it got there, I have no idea, because in 1995, the Mental Health Board voted for it not to go there. There is a letter in the minutes of the meeting of 1995, and I don't remember the exact month, where Tommy Martinez, then parish president, agreed to take the money from the mental health fund and pay coroner's fees. Well, we were paying just Ascension Parish coroner's fees. Now we're paying all different parish coroner's fees, and it's amounting to $40,000 to $44,000 a year. We're paying for search warrants. I don't know if that person is mental health reason they're sending a search warrant, they're sending the coroner after him, or what. But anyway, this is getting up there. And if our mental health patients in Ascension Parish have to meet a special identification as to they are Ascension Parish residents, why wouldn't these people with the coroner not just pulling out a driver's license and saying this says Ascension Parish, and we paying these coroner's fees? You gonna look into that one?
I cannot answer all of that other than the issue with where the money's coming from to pay the coroner.
Out of mental health fund.
The parish government is mandated to pay the coroner. An opinion was rendered years ago as far as being legal to pay the coroner out of the mental health fund. Back in '95, that was a legal opinion was rendered stating that it was legal to do that. At that point, it was a decision of the parish council whether we wanted to pay out of the general fund or pay out of the mental health fund. At that time, the decision was made to pay it out of the mental health fund. Now, if the board would like to go into discussion with the parish president or the council, you can do that. You can bring that to him. But once again, you have to go through the parish president and bring it up. If you disagree with the parish president, then you can bring it to the council on that issue right there. So far as the issue with us paying other parishes, I don't have a clue. Haven't heard anything about paying any other coroner. That is something that can be researched. If you have information, please share that with us, and we'll research it.
I have the.
I would forward the information you got to me, and we'll research it. We'll have somebody research it and find out exactly why. If we are, why. Right,
well, it's written in our budget, and it says Jefferson Parish coroner's fees. It says St. Tammany coroner's fees, and it's $100 every time they hit us with one. And last year it was, I forget. One year it was $44,000, one it was $42,000, and it averages between $40,000 and $48,000 a year now.
All right, we will look into that. We'll research that, Ms. Suzanne. Let's put somebody on that as far as why we're paying other parishes coroner fees, and we'll get that feedback back to the board. Okay. And I mean that's a good point. I'd like to know why, if we're paying outside,
and how do we
I want to
prove,
know why myself.
other than a driver's license, are they Ascension Parish residents? Because you have to be by the law, the ordinance. I mean, the tax that was passed, it says it has to be an Ascension Parish resident. Well, just a driver's license, you know that you can take an Ascension Parish driver's license for 4 years across even state lines.
We'll research it and find out and get back with you on that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that we ask Ms. Suzanne to place that on the finance agenda, and maybe Ms. Gwynn can possibly have some information, and maybe we
That's
can
a good
handle
idea.
that finance.
Put it on the finance agenda, and hopefully we will have some answers by then.
Forward that question to Ms. Gwynn, or agenda item to her.
All right.
And the other thing is...
Number 9.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you finished with the coroner?
Finished.
Okay. Number 9, discussion of name of agency. All right.
We would like to take the name that's in the ordinance and just put clinic or clinic on it, instead of having paperwork that has Gonzalez Clinic on it. Your telephone book has Ascension Parish Family Counseling and Substance Abuse Center, which we do all these things here. but it is not what is in the ordinance. Your building has Ascension Parish Mental Health on it, and your TV ads are running with Ascension Counseling and Substance Abuse Center. Our grants come in, we try to do research on it, and it's all under all different names. And if we just take the name of the Ascension Parish Mental Health disorder, substance abuse.
All right. On the ordinance, I'm reading the ordinance here, and you tell me what if I'm correct. Is it correct to say that it's called in the ordinance Ascension Parish Mental Health and Addictive Disorder?
And substance, it has. Yes, sir. And leave out advisory board and either put clinic or.
Well, if you go under, whereas this was created as the Ascension Parish Board of Mental Health in order to keep up with the changing times, this ordinance hereby amended to reflect the mental health needs of the day. Section 18-3 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance is hereby amended as follows. The name shall now be the Ascension Parish Mental Health and Addictive Disorder Advisory Board. That is according to the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's been some discussion about amending the name, changing the name, or altering the name. The only thing that I have concerns about is that we keep it legal. Legal meaning what was in the proposition when it was brought before the people? How was it described? Also, in the state, coming from the state, it states that it has to there's a certain criteria, and I'm not up to speed exactly on this.
Well, I'm just asking for help.
If you can shed some light on that.
When I researched this ordinance, I tried to get, I did the research very thorough.
I know.
And the main person that everybody kept sending me back to was Dr. Jan Krasowski, the CADS, anyway, the capital area board in Baton Rouge, which is the state board. She suggested that we put in, instead of substance abuse, addictive disorder.
Exactly.
Because she said this broadens the criteria for you to be able to help people, since there was a lot of gambling and those types of things. So that made all of that inclusive in addictive. And that's why that was changed that way based on her recommendation.
Right.
Okay, and what is the desire of the board to
that we take
that our literature goes out.
That our literature goes out with that title on it.
Except for board.
We don't want board. We want the clinic or the agency or.
Okay.
You can add that.
Well, you can.
They can change.
Okay. We would like to see the Ascension Parish mental health, because in our literature that's been going out, we haven't been seeing mental health on there. Okay. So we'd like to see Ascension Parish Mental Health and Addictive Disorder Clinic.
And it, excuse me, and when it went for election, it had Ascension Parish Mental Health on it.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It does have that.
I'm sorry, that the ordinance just names the board, right? So we don't have to fool with the ordinance. We can take the recommendation of the board about whatever they want to name the building or the group or the organization. The ordinance only identifies the board, so that's the one thing we can't monkey with. But we can more or less take their recommendation and do what they need. It just needs to be something that's consistent, and that the people will understand what the services are there. Yeah. And I agree with Jan Kosofsky. I know Jan that addictive disorders takes all of that in, substance abuse, gambling, everything. So I would just like to take their recommendation of
Add clinic to the end.
And just add clinic.
Drop board and add clinic.
from your literature. If it's something that's coming from the board itself, then you need to identify yourself as the board. But when it comes to
from the clinic, it should be.
as long as there is not a legal problem with getting your with getting grants in, with providing anything like that, I don't have a problem with it at all. And I would like to go ahead and I guess offer a motion that we accept the recommendation of the board to change the title. What you got?
So everybody have.
Well, I'll read it. The name shall now be the Ascension Parish Mental Health and Addictive Disorder Advisory Board. That's the board. Whatever they put on the building is kind of up to them and us, I guess. I'll offer that motion that we can add clinic to their literature.
Motion by Mr. McConnell.
Second.
To add clinic. Second by Ms. Fonda. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Motion
Thank you.
adjourned.
I'd like to see.
By Reader
I had
adjourned,
one
second by
statement.
Ms.
I'm sorry.
Fonda. Any objection?
I thought we had one more thing.
Motion passes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Just in time for the interview.